Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I've got a guest with me today who you'll recognize her face from social media. She is the property sensation taking over Liverpool. I don't think I built her up too much there. I think Mia, I've done a pretty good job here. It's Mia Evans. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Sorry, inside joke. Before we started, we said that we hate when everyone says thank you for having me on the podcast. So Mia,
It
thank you
was
for
it was on the tip of my tongue as
you were
well.
literally you
It
jumped
was
straight into it.
there.
So thank you so much. So for those who don't recognize from social media, tell us about yourself. How did you first get into estate agency? Because you were a trainee negotiator about 6 years ago, was it? Or how long ago did you get into it?
Edging on 7, I think now. Yeah, started with Connells. Honestly, fell into it. I was applying for loads of jobs. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. And everyone says they fall into it. That's another one of those things, isn't it? I just fell into property. But I got an interview as a trainee. It was actually an apprenticeship. And at the time, I was renting somewhere with my ex-boyfriend, and I couldn't really afford to just take an apprenticeship. Spent most of our relationship carrying him, so I couldn't. Sorry, you won't be listening. But yeah, I had to make money, and it was something like £3.72 or something like that. Who lives off that? But I liked the idea of property. It was property or funeral director.
Wow. Okay, that would have been a direction. Yeah, that would have been a turn.
I was
I remember
applying
having
for a few.
I remember having a yeah, an apprentice working for us. And I think, yeah, it was like £3.50 an hour, and you could only do a maximum number of hours every week, sort of thing, before you maxed out, and then it was kind of on your own shoulders, sort of thing. I mean, so fair
Yeah.
play. So how long did you manage to survive on the apprentice salary before you jacked
Well,
in and kind
I
of,
didn't. I got offered the interview, and the director at that point of the sort of Cheshire area was a lovely lady who is now the owner of CW Estates in Winterford, sort of Cheshire area, Nicola Leach, and she invited me to come and see, what it was about, and it was really for the experience of the interview. And she asked me middle of the way through, um, she sort of called me out and said, "You're not going to take this job, are you?" And I was like, no, like who can survive off that? And to be fair, I thought I'd cocked it up because I did all my research about the branch and everything, and there was a few spelling errors and stuff on the website. It bugged me, and I mentioned it. I thought it'd show that I'm observant. She laughed it off, and she seemed to like me, and I left thinking that was a nice experience. It seemed cool. Maybe in the future, if I wasn't renting or somewhere, could afford to take C72, and kind of left it. And 3 days later, she called me back and said, "I know you can't take the apprenticeship, but we've made a trainee position for you, if that helps." Not that it was a lot more money, but no, it was livable. So I
no.
took that.
And how long were, because you went from there to another agent after that, and then eventually, obviously, we were up to where we are today with TA UK.
Hmm.
So, what was the sort of the turning point where you went from sort of being employed, and then do you think then did anything particular happen where you thought to yourself, actually, I'm going to get rid of this being employed and PAYE malarkey and actually go and work for myself? What was the sort of take me back there?
Well, I actually really enjoyed the corporate side of things with Connells. I liked the structure. I just didn't like the fact that I couldn't step up, I guess, as quickly and as rapidly as I felt I was. I've got a lot of drive, and I don't think. I think it just takes years to get to that point, and it was probably Nicola Leach. She was sat there with the big guns, and she was like, "It's taken me years to do so, and I've sort of now made it," and I've gone, "Not what I want to do." And she set up herself. It was actually COVID was probably the reason I left that company, because I was on something like £16,000 a year. Bear in mind that's crazy to think about it now. Like, I'm making that money in a few months now. It's unbelievable. How I don't know how people keep doing that, but obviously very different worlds. But with that, I just couldn't. I couldn't survive off it during COVID because I was making 2 grand extra on FS and recommendations and stuff like that, and I liked that side of it. But when you come back to COVID and they paid you 100%, but it wasn't the commission, I was going, holy shit, what am I doing? And there was a lady who joined us who had no experience, lovely woman, no experience in the industry, but she was in her mid 40s. And she came, and I'd probably had two years at that point, proven myself, I'd like to think. And she said, "Oh, it's not very well paid, is it? 18 grand a year." And I was like, "Fucking what now?" And I mentioned it to the director that day, and he said, "Mia, if you leave, There's 10 people waiting for your job. And I went, go fuck yourself. And I left.
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
There was
Before
no ifs or
before
buts.
before we started the podcast, there, I said to Mia, just be yourself. Just like just let it go with it. Like I'm glad you're taking with that and absolutely running with it. So where did you go to after that then? So after you told him to go stick it in the nicest possible way, what was the next stage after that?
It wasn't in the nicest possible way. They were arses.
I was
So
toning it
I
down.
gave back what they gave to me.
Yeah.
Not that there's any hardship now. They are who they are, and I am who I am. But I then got a job in a local independent round here. It was I actually moved to Southport for the job, so I was in Cheshire at the time and moved to Southport. I was planning on having a bit of a stopgap because after that I thought, do I want to stay in property? I don't know what I want to do. And then I got that job and I negotiated the hell out of my basic. Um, and when I say like we all know in this industry, we're not basic wages aren't great, but I got a really really good basic there, and I was more comfortable with that. And I started there, moved down to the Chorley branch, and got to a point of they were talking about putting me up to management. And when I got it, I didn't want it anymore. Just realised that there was then no more progression. I don't like the idea of not, just that's it. What you do then? I was only 22 at the time, 22 and got to a management point. What is that it for the next how many years? There was no progression.
Do you think that people in a state agency sort of follow a path in front of them? I don't want to say follow the money because that's probably bit harsh, but kind of they see the stepping stone. Oh, I'm a junior negotiator, I'm negotiator, I'm senior negotiator, I'm valuer, I'm branch manager, I'm now
Yeah.
director, I'm the regional director, and all this. They sort of go down that route. And do you think a lot of people kind of wake up one day and go, "Hang on a minute, here, I actually quite like selling houses," and suddenly I've got 15 spreadsheets and I haven't touched the phone for 6 weeks, sort of thing? Do you think that people kind
Yeah.
of naturally go down that line and sort of think, "Oh crap, where am I now?"
Yeah, I think there is that natural sort of, even when I first started, you saw the progression and there was like, it's like little stepping stones, isn't it, up to what you want to be. But I think it really hits home when you get to that point of like, is this it? Like, it's not actually that well paid, is it? And what you're taking on, it's just I don't know. I worked my backside off for other companies, and I don't regret doing that. I feel like I proved that I really did care. I cared about the clients, I cared about the companies, but it gets to a point when you're caring more than the actual owners, is what I felt. That it was a bit like, why am I doing this for someone else when I could be doing it for myself? Because that to me was like, if I'm working my backside off for them, what am I going to do for myself? And it was at that point I think not many people realize that you can progress to self-employed. I certainly didn't before reaching out to agents together. I had no idea. I was in this little bubble of what I thought a state agency was, and there's so many people in my age sort of range in their 20s that have no idea, and I'm telling you, no idea this type of life is livable. You can do your own thing. That I had no clue.
I'm gonna give a shameless pitch now. Agents Together is fantastic. I am a mentor for Agents Together. It's a bit of a busman's holiday for me, as you might imagine, but it's a really good thing to do with it. If you want to mentor people or if you need some mentorship, it's completely free to do. Reach out to guys there. They'll match you up with someone absolutely brilliant like myself or Mia, for example, and they can help you with your own estate agency journey, all for free of charge. So why would you not, sort of thing? So talk me through who did you get matched up with, as if I don't know the answer to this question.
No, I don't think anyone really knows a name. Stephanie who? Like, yeah, it's Stephanie Walker, Stephanie Bass. Whatever you want to know her for, that name or that name. Yeah, I got matched up with Steph, and honestly, it just seems like I've known her my entire life now. It was two peas in a pod, is what people when they talk about me and Steph. I think Simon Gates reached out after my podcast with him and said like to Steph like she like you, isn't she? And I'm like, I'll take that. I don't mind being Steph.
There's absolutely worse role models, to say the least, in the estate world. So I think, as a really good compliment. I love Steph. She's, works alongside us very closely. She's been on the podcast before. I think she's absolutely brilliant. So you really pulled the ace when it came to getting
I
mentorship
did.
on Agents
Yeah,
Together.
I really did. I was a
So
bit worried
how,
about who I'd be matched with as well because I didn't know anyone. And then that first phone call was just when I take myself back to that, I'm like, I don't know. It was weird. It was like two similar people connecting over things that we love to do. And yeah, without that conversation, I would not be here today.
and so how long did it take Steph to wear you down and woo you over?
Oh, she mentioned TA UK in the first 5 minutes. No, to be fair, she was the reason I reached out was because I was hoping to get up to management at that point. And I've been really honest in my approach that I don't think I would make a very good manager. I'm a very, very no bullshit person. I have no I just don't think I have patience, and that's something I've got to work on personally, and what I was trying to work on. Don't know if it's worked. Guess I don't need it now. But at that point, I wanted to practice what type of manager I'd be because I had so many managers, great ones, bad ones in between, that I thought like, oh, I'd take that from them. I wouldn't take that from them. And I think everyone should always be learning. So that's why I reached out to Steph in the first place. So we did talk about that for a while, but then the more we talked about property, the more she was like, this girl is just wasted doing what she's doing. And it was true. And that sounds super, super confident and probably a little bit cocky. I don't mean it that way. I mean, like, I genuinely, when I look back, I felt like I was wasted.
Hmm. So talk me through. I'm going to throw you under the bus here slightly, if that's okay. So talk me through. You first launched your TA UK business. Talk to me about the tiling.
Oh God, this is never ending. Everyone always talks about this. So yeah, my first, I knew it's probably important to say I knew that I was leaving the Independent a couple of months before I actually left, which they'll probably never forgive me for because don't know if they thought I wasn't being truthful. Well, protecting my own self really and what I was trying to do, and I was very nervous about it. Didn't want anyone in my year sort of saying you were going to fail or when there was a little bit of me already thinking that. Even though I kept telling myself failure is not an option, hence why I'm here now. But yeah, I spent the first 3 months doing bugger all, and I had like the best people around me, just really telling me, and that I didn't mind telling me either. Like, just go and do it, go and knock a fucking door, Mia, go and do this, go and do that. But you really aren't going to listen until you're ready. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be your mum, your sibling, your partner, somebody you admire, like Steph is to me. But it didn't matter. I don't know what it was. That scared, maybe. I don't know, of the rejection, of the not succeeding. So I decided, well, I didn't decide actually. My partner's got very bad ADHD. Shout out to Tom with his ADHD. It's bad, and he decided one day that he'd had enough of our kitchen, and he ripped it apart. Literally, we were cooking off a tiny stove, and then I decided I was going to plaster and tile to take my mind off the fact I should actually be out there knocking doors. So that's where the tiling thing came in. If I messed around for 3 months and everyone is laughing at the fact that I tiled my kitchen, I think that's quite an achievement.
I mean, yeah, you probably compared to my tiling skills. I mean, it'd be like crazy paving. So, what was the designing factor? Was it quite a harsh phone call with Steph? Was it like, oh my God, I've got on with this. I've not got much money left. Or what was the sort of deciding factor? Or was it just like you finished your tiling and you were like, well, I need to get on with this and launch this business stuff?
Um, there was no Steph's never. Come on, Steph's quite a blunt person anyway. There's no steady with Steph. There's a sort your shit out. And there was a lot of that. That was nice, obviously, but then there was also like I remember the exact moment she said, "I expected you out of everyone to listen," and I
Oof,
felt like I was being told off by like a teacher or something.
that's a good
And it
burn.
was
That's a good burn.
I was like, oh, all right. Like, Jesus Christ. And I remember sitting there that night thinking, I was a little bit annoyed at her, thinking, I'm doing my own thing. And my back was up a bit. But and then I messaged a bit back being like, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I need to do this. And she did expect more from me. And she still, to this day, expects more, more from me. She's always that person who is like, yeah, that's great, but this. And I need that, and I'm glad I've got it. And everyone at TA UK should appreciate that side of Steph, that she is a driving force. And there is that little element of I don't want to let Steph down, which is weird, but I don't. So yeah, I think that was the text that got me going. I didn't really run out of money per se. I had quite a bit saved, but I didn't like the idea of buying into my future investments and things like that. So I think it was the first door knock as well that I was like, just go knock the bloody door, Mia. And it's only a first. That first one, as soon as you get it puts a spark up your arse. I don't know what it does. It's just like the excitement came back, and I just went, yeah, go and knock more doors.
So talk me through that then. So, because obviously you were new to the area, so it wasn't like you had kind of a black book of friends and family in the local area where you kind of just text them all and saying, "Oh, I've been here for the last 20 years and now I've got an estate agency business," sort of thing. So
Yeah.
you were kind of a cold start in a cold town, effectively. So talk me through that first sort of 6 months of getting instructions and what was kind of working for you? What was your sort of your mindset? What would a day in the life of Mia look like? Talk me through that.
So firstly, I always think like to the people who are probably listening to this, maybe thinking about doing going self-employed, if I was in an area that I had no one to rely on and I basically faked it till I made it in an area that I didn't really know, there is no fucking excuse for the people who have lived in certain areas for years and years and years that have, I even had people, I worked in Chorley previously, so I had people come back to me that Jane from Chorley at TA UK, that I was able to say, oh, here's a client, here's a client. I didn't have any referrals in my area that I could go towards. So there is no excuse to those people who are thinking of doing it. You can do it. If I've done it not knowing this area, you can absolutely do it. I don't really plan the whole day in the life. I'm quite an organized person, but I don't really get to the whole Monday I door knock, this I do that. I just maybe I did a bit more when I first started because I think you have to have a good routine. But the more that it goes on and the more consistency, I I make sure that it's just your area after a bit, don't you? Like there's certain patches like new build sort of places that I go to, and they know me really well there. And if a property comes on there and it's not with me, I'm knocking it the week after. I'm like, somebody's in my patch. I'm not all right with it. Even though that was never supposed to be my patch, the one that I'm talking about, but everyone knows me there now that I kind of know what doors I need to knock without having it on a spreadsheet. So I'm not really, I don't pre-plan per se, but I did a little bit more when I first joined. I think you have to because there is nothing on your lap, is there? There's no instruction, there's no inquiries coming in, you can get buy a house to sell off the back of it. You are literally starting, and nobody realizes this until you're doing it. You are starting with a notepad and a pen and going, I've got to go find a house to sell, right? That's what you're doing. You can get some valuation requests from TAUK and stuff like that, but really the reality is you have to go out there and go and do it.
I've always found that quite freeing, the fact that, you can't go to -1 instructions. You've always got nothing to lose. I remember looking at my diary and it was completely blank. And when I first launched the business, and I was like, well, the only way is up. If we get
Yeah,
we get one appointment in, we've grown the business massively, sort of
yeah.
thing. So you
It's not
can't really
like
go
we need
backwards.
50,000 houses. To start with, I was sort of targeting myself. If I take on two a month and then sell them two, I'll live comfortably. Even if I took on one a month, I'd still be earning more than I did on the high street. By everything else that's involved. But I think there's always that. I target myself a certain amount, but then I'm like, it's always the next bit, which I love about myself. I'm always trying to aspire for the next thing. But this year I've really batted cleverly about how I'm working, and I'm increasing fees and being a bit more careful with my time because now in year two, I want to retain my own time. I don't want to be working every single Saturday, Sunday, which back end of last year, I think I went like 7 weeks with Saturdays and Sunday open houses, which I enjoyed. Doesn't feel like work, but this year I've really tried to concentrate on take the same amount but double the fees. So you don't, if you have 1 month where you just want to go on holiday for 3 weeks, you can and you don't have to stress. So I'm batting more cleverly now.
I love that. So to talk me through, so when you're first doing your door knocking and you're sort of new to the neighborhood sort of thing, what would be sort of the message you would deliver on the front doorstep? Would you knock on the front door and say, how's it going selling your house? Would you say, where are you looking to move to in the area? Can I help you kind of on that side of things? What would be the messaging you would do when you kind of ring my doorbell in North Liverpool?
Um, do you know, it's weird because I'm not a pre-planner. I'm more of a just do it type of person. And I feel like I've built my company off being undeniably myself. And I don't know if that's great or not, but I am just undeniably myself. And most of my clients are people who understand my humor, which is even better then. So I just use that. I would never go knock on a door and be like, oh, hi, my name's Mia. I'm from the agency UK. Here's my car. That's just not me. I went, the first one I ever did, I knocked on and said, your for sale board's annoying me. And they were like, what? And I was like, this is really annoying. I've been past it like 6 or 7 times. I'm a local estate agent. Why is it still for sale? And they were like, we don't know. And she invited me in there and there. Then just went, yeah, come in. You've actually, you've spoken to us more this week than our own estate agent, and welcomed me in, and they were off with them and on with me within a week. So I am just undeniably myself. And the ones who aren't my clients are fine. That's okay now. You can go to the corporate, more regimented, super duper professional. Do I swear in front of my clients? Absolutely. We're all fucking human. I wouldn't want somebody coming into my house who was, sorry to say it, the type, suited and booted, pointy shoes, briefcase. Fuck off. Really does my head in. I'm sorry, it really does. People buy people, and I feel like I'm a laugh through the 4 months. So the people who want that, they work with me.
How long did it take you to kind of develop that sort of thicker skin, shall we say? Because obviously, sometimes you go on evaluation, they go, "Oh, Mia, love what you're saying, but we're going to go with other estate agent instead," sort of thing. Obviously,
Hmm.
now you seem very sort of philosophical is probably the wrong word, but it's kind of like, I am who I am. If you like me, great. If you don't like me,
Yeah.
then see you later, sort of thing.
Yeah.
When you first launched, was your skin as thick, or did you kind of get a bit of like, "Oh, why don't they like me?" sort of moment?
I think that the thickness of your skin develops over time when you're self-employed. You also develop that your worth, which I didn't foresee sort of happening. But I am undeniably like, this is my fee now. This is what I have to offer. And I feel like to start with, I was sort of telling myself by telling them, going, no, I'm not negotiable. But now I'm like, I know I'm not negotiable, and I'm going to tell you why. And if you decide to go with me, that's great. If you don't, I'll let you go. But that was a lot harder in the first 8 months. I was really, really fierce about my fee to start with. And that was something that Jane McQueen from Chorley mentioned to me that she wished she had done when she first launched. That she sort of did a few mystery shops and realised, having worked over there, I know what the company that I used to work for charged and stuff. You're going up against 0.5, 0.8% agents. Can you really be brand new, charge marketing, do this, be completely different, and charge 1.2, 1.5? It's really nerve wracking to do, but I went straight in at 1.2, and most people around here are 0.75. And I lost a few because of that. And me and Steph talked about it, and she said maybe you should have been a bit negotiable, but hindsight, isn't it? I don't regret it per se now because it worked out, but would it have been nice if I had a few more? It's one of them. You've got to be a little bit more lenient with yourself, and I think it's that self-doubt to start with, isn't it? Of you need a board up, you need a few things in the pipeline. And bear in mind, I joined TO UK when the advanced commission wasn't a thing, so I really needed money.
Steph will thank you for putting that shameless plug in there. So that's Steph will change your name. So thanks for doing that one. So, so talk me through. Was there a particular time in your journey? I appreciate you're still on the up, quite nice, which is great to see. But was there any particular time, from when you first launched the business, you're kind of like, this is the tipping point. You think, oh, actually, this is actually working. This is actually going quite well.
Um, Honestly, no. Like I feel like the past 2 years have just been really blurry. And having just hit like my second year, it's just a bit weird to me. Like it seems like a bit of a weird daydream of just going, "Hey, I'm actually doing all right," like. And I'm in the mindset of I think I'll always stay very humble about it. Like I don't have aspirations to open a huge branch, which everyone assumes that we do as personal estate agents. Like, oh, you're doing so well now, and everyone keeps saying, open that big branch. No, I'm a personal estate agent. That's not what I want to do. So I do have a comfortable level of going, all I wanted to do was be there for my stepdaughter, see my partner more, earn more money, live a comfortable life and do what I love doing. And I feel like I'm getting to that, I'm at that point, but I was at that point probably 8 months in. And if I this year only earned what I did last year, still would have been okay. It's just there is that drive then, isn't there, to keep being like, wow, okay, I did well last year. I want to do this year. But no, it's honestly, it's just been one huge blur.
So talk me through if you came to value my property, for example, when I'd had a couple of agents out from town and they were the ones that you said were, the point 0.8, 0.75, I think that sort of direction. And then you walked to my front door, obviously quite a lot more expensive than that. How much pushback do you get on these days? And when you do get pushback, how do you kind of overcome that issue when they're going, well, Mia, they're 0.75 and you're telling me that's £2,000 or whatever. How do you overcome that issue so that people can see that value? Because I'm sure lots of agents listening would love to know how when they're going up against cheap agents who are kind of, dropping their pants in the nicest possible way on fee, how they can
Mm.
still kind of hold firm. Is that kind of come with maturity, or what's the sort of conversation look like there?
Well, bear in mind when you're on the high street, I think you obviously I wasn't a valuer, but I booked in for the valuers and stuff like that, and they were going to five, six a day, maybe, how many a week? I only have to go to like one a week really and instruct that. So it means more when you instruct it because if you lose it, there's like, oh, there's not 50,000 valuations you can get. But for the first sort of 6 months, I really lost my confidence. So I think that's really important to sort of relay that I wasn't confident at all. I really, really, when I first started, and Nick Brown will tell you, I was on the ground, had no confidence in my ability to sell anyone anything. And over time, the more people feed into you and go, oh, actually, that sounds really good, and you prove why you're that fee. Proof's in the pudding is a real thing, which is why it's hard when you start because you're going, I charge this amount, this is what I can do, but where's the proof? Where's the social proof that you are doing this? Whereas now I can go, yeah, my average on the market to sold is a week and a half, 2 weeks right now. My average over asking price is 20 grand right now. The proof is there. That's easier now. But when you're actually talking to people, I try not to compare myself to the high street as much because I actually think we're very, very different. And that's okay because they will still have their customers and I will still have mine. There's plenty of properties to sell. It's just I don't want them all. And I think portraying that has been really powerful for my business. I've told people, I know you think that you're choosing your estate agent over the next week, but bear in mind I choose you as well. That's something I've been using a lot lately. And I spoke to somebody about an hour ago, and she was like, "I never thought of that." I said, "No, no. You think I want to deal with you for 4 months if I don't like you?" But, we need to work together. And that seems to be the difference is people are biting into personal agency more. They want that one-to-one friendship, because you are forming friendships.
And how long did it take you to kind of get over that? Because almost it's a valuer's mindset from sort of more of a corporate angle, I'd imagine, is that I've got to get them all. It's like the old Pokemon special. I've got every single property. I need to come back to the office and say, I've got the keys, I've got it signed up. How long did that mindset take to evolve to actually go, actually, I don't need to get them all because if they're asses or they're unrealistic about price or they're unrealistic about fee, they don't have to go with me and that's kind of absolutely fine. How long did it take that mindset to kind of evolve over time?
Well, bear in mind, I wasn't a valuer, so I think it was probably a little bit easier because I went in with, uh, it's not like I had to change my mindset, is it? Because I wasn't valuing, but I obviously knew the name of the game in the corporate industry and even for the independents were it wasn't ever quality. It was just getting them on. I remember now having this pink folder in the last place where it actually cringes me out when I think back to it. Pink folder, and the valuer would come in and go, "Oh, that's instruction number 6 of the week," and you'd get so excited about it because what you were told you'd get a bonus or something like that. And I found it a little bit hard to shift that mindset of what I'd learned over the past 5 years, really because it's actually opposite now is you're dealing with opposites. You're going, actually, I don't need, it's not all about the lowest fee and coming in and going, oh, I've just beat Bridgeford's, I've got it over Bridgeford's. And I don't really, it sounds bad, but I don't really care if they've said to me, I had one last week who I went out to and she said, love everything about you, I want to come off with these 2 estate agents. I found it really hard because one of them was actually a personal estate agent. And I think there's a bit of an unspoken loyalty for personal estate agents there of respect levels. But she talked about it and she said, and I didn't really know the person. And she said, I want to go with you. And she said, yeah, let's go. Let's take them off this and this and this. And then she must have slept on it because my fee was triple what they were charging. And there was all sorts of different things to the fee as well, of a performance fee and stuff. And she was all for it. And then she must have slept on it and come back and said like, oh, actually, I'm just going to stay here. And she's just reduced it, which I actually think is detrimental to the price that she's now going to take. But you can't make everyone want to work with you, and that's okay. I let that go and just said, I'm here if you need me, if you need any advice. And I still am there if she needs advice. But it is what it is. It was a hefty fee. It was a 9 grand fee, which sounds weird now because at the start I would have been like, ooh, but you win some, you lose some. It wasn't meant to be. You let it go.
So how do you stay motivated and disciplined? I appreciate, historically when you had a boss and you're a negotiator, etc., you've got someone sort of cracking the whip effectively from the back of the office to say, kind of, let's get on with it. How do you
Mm.
stay motivated where you are your own boss with TA UK? How do you kind of stay on top of it and actually give yourself that drive to do more?
Um, honestly, you can't see it because the background's blurred, but that board over there, is a whiteboard, very corporate of me, with all of my properties. And obviously, you get rid of some, and even it's almost not the same as the spreadsheet. I've got the spreadsheet as much as I sometimes get a bit bored of looking at it because I don't love the whole numbers games. I just kind of let it, it is what it is type of thing. If I earn well, I earn well. If I lose something, I lose something. But that board, if I see that, all my completions are going, I had, I think it was December, I had about six go. So the whiteboard went from, quite full to, and I was like, oh, that annoyed me. I was like, no, I've got to fill it up again. So it's that constant self, yeah, I guess it is discipline of just if I have a month where I don't instruct anything, it's going to affect in 3 months' time. So you've got to understand you're on a wheel forever now as a personal estate agent, aren't you? You have to keep that consistency. And I think the fear of having a month or 2 months where I have no money again hurts me. Even though, I've got money now, it's just I like to build on my pot. I don't like to see it go down. So that side for me, I'm very good with money. So I think that's helped me with the discipline of the consistency of taking on, taking off. I take 4 on a month, 4 off. If I do anything more than that, that's a huge bonus. That's what I target myself for comfortability.
And so let's talk about lead generation. What's your sort of go-to these days? What's the one you would not let go of, hell or high water, that kind of really kind of delivers for yourself?
Oh, do you know what? This is a weird topic because I'm all for honesty, evidently, and Steph will kill me for this, but I'm going to say it. I've not door knocked in probably 2 months. Sorry, Steph. But I've not, and I have to be honest about it because right now I'm having such an influx of recommendations, which is lovely, really, really lovely. Especially from somebody who didn't expect that until like year 4 because I don't know anyone really, around here. To get that consistency is lovely. But there is, I still week in, week out go, I should really be bloody door knocking because you don't know when that's going to, run out, do you? But I am always ready for if I have a week where I haven't got anything coming up or valuations in, I'm not just going to sit there and wait for them recommendations. I'll just go, right, Tuesday, no, not got a val Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I'm out. And I'll spend the whole day door knocking. And 9 times out of 10, I come back with something from that. So yeah, you have to be consistent if you want that complete, to get to the point that I'm at now. Because first year, I wasn't like this, was I? I was literally out 4 days a week, just no matter what the weather was like, just in my little raincoat, just posting things through. But now I guess this is happening. It's even nicer, isn't it?
So last question for you. You've been really transparent, which I absolutely love to pieces. If you could go back and talk to Mia 2 years ago and say, Mia, you're about to launch your own business. This is my one bit of advice. For the love of God, either do this or don't do this sort of thing. What do you reckon that bit of advice would sound like?
Don't reinvent the wheel. Reach out to the people around you who have succeeded and just keep learning because that's helped me the most is reaching out to the people at TA UK. We don't operate our businesses the same way, but I learn something from them every time I speak or see them. The reason I'm doubling my fees this year, and he doesn't even know this, is Tom Constable's. I spoke to Nick Brown about something Tom had said. He probably doesn't even know that this is because of him, but the reason I'm doing a performance fee now and I'm earning probably £1,000 more per transaction is because of him. And it's just keep learning from the people around you and stay humble and just keep working hard. That's what I'd say.
Mia, thank you so much. You've been a brilliant guest as always. We'll end the podcast there because I need to go away and press that explicit content button really quickly before I. So thank you for being unapologetically yourself. You've been brilliant. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.